All right, as promised earlier, we're going to be talking about affordable housing. Now, according to a 2015 Central Bank of Kenya and the World Bank report, 90% of Kenyans cannot afford to buy a house, even with the aid of a mortgage loans, I beg your pardon. So exactly how can we as Kenyans move to that direction where we can all afford to own our own houses? So joining me in studio to steer that conversation to my immediate left is Peter Gitau, who is the Managing Director of Peter's Plots, and then next to him is Grace Wanjiru, who is the CEO of Kodi Kodi. Thank you very much for making time to join us. Welcome.
Thank you.
So I'll start with you, Peter. Maybe you can just tell us something about Peter's Plots.
Well, Peter's Plots has been around for a long time, almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
And what we do is we help Kenyans to identify affordable land, which they can pay in a period that is comfortable for them. And then we help them also to build houses at their own pace.
Yes.
So that they can eventually own their own home and stop paying rent.
Okay.
Yes.
What about you, Kodi Kodi? What exactly is Kodi Kodi?
Okay, Kodi Kodi is a company that enables the middle-income earners own property at a very affordable manner. Yeah, by paying in installments at 0% deposit and 0% interest.
0% deposit?
Yes.
0% interest.
Yes.
Before we go on, let's talk about that. How exactly does that work?
This is because, as you all know, most of the real estate firms, they ask for deposits. And when you look at us, the middle-income earners, it's so hard to acquire that kind of money. But you can imagine when you have a salary or maybe a business that gives you money, and you're able to get out of it a certain amount that can actually pay for your property. So as Kodi Kodi, we allow people to pay in monthly installments at a longer period of time, and then eventually you own the property at no deposits. For example, what we have right now, we have Mitini Gardens in Nanyuki. We are selling it at 200,000. You pay 15,500 every month for 13 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. And Peter, earlier on you said, of course, we should not pay rent for more than 5 years. To go beyond, the maximum should be 10 years. Maybe tell us more about that.
Well, I had an opportunity to work outside Kenya, and I've also traveled widely.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and Europe.
Okay.
And in these countries, people there, about 95% of the people there are paying mortgages. But they're paying mortgages because the government has put in place mechanisms and policy to protect the mortgage.
Okay.
So if you lose your job, there are some countries that will give you a mortgage break. So until you get another job, you do not pay the mortgage.
Okay.
The problem here in Kenya is that you can't take a mortgage of 25 years because you can't hold your job for 25 years.
Yes.
If you lose your job after 5 years, what happens? In some cases, you lose the money that you had put. So at Peter's Plots, we think a home-based solution, a Kenyan solution, is best. Mortgage is not Kenyan.
All right.
We have 25,000 mortgages in Kenya, in a country of 40 million. That tells you that that is not the right product for Kenya.
Yes.
So what we need is to come up, or what we have come up with, is a product for Kenyans. Buy a plot when you are young. When you're 25 to 30 years old, buy a plot.
All right.
After that, spend every month building your house pole pole, spend 20, 30,000, 15,000 shillings. If you come to us, we will show you how. When I built my house, I started with 50,000 shillings only. And eventually I got the house sorted. In Kenya, you can put 15,000 shillings to 20,000 shillings every month, or even 10,000 shillings every month, and you will own a house by the time you reach 30.
All right.
You shouldn't be renting for 15 years. It's wrong.
You know, you've talked about 20,000, 30,000, 50,000. Let's not forget that some Kenyans cannot afford this. So then what happens to such?
You do not actually need to put a monthly amount towards your house. What you need to do is, I'll give an example. You may decide, right, I'm going to just spend the next maybe 2 years looking for money to buy the building blocks.
Yes.
Only. Now, one lorry of building blocks will be about 35,000 shillings. You can say, I'll target 2 years to do that. And then I'll target another 1 year to buy the sand. A 3-bedroom house, you only need about 3 truckloads of building blocks and 3 truckloads of sand.
Okay.
Then after that, you can say, I'll spend another 2 years maybe buying the steel. So you do not need to be employed. All you need is plan yourself, have a purpose, set a goal, and say, I'm going to work towards owning a 3-bedroom house. And of course, you need to go and see the people like us who can break it down for you and tell you, aim at this after you get the plot, and you will own your house.
All right. Okay. We want to take a short commercial break here on Business Today. But when we come back, of course, we're going to be continuing with the conversation. Where are we as Kenyans going wrong? Don't go too far. Affordable housing, and joining me in studio to steer that conversation, of course, to my immediate left is Peter Gitau, who is the managing director of Peter's Plots, and next to him is Grace Wanjiru, who is the CEO of Kodi Kodi. Now, of course, Grace, before we went for the break, Peter talked about the challenges that we face from mortgages in the country and the government not putting enough policies to sustain all that. But then, in your perspective, where do you think we're going wrong as Kenyans when it comes to securing affordable housing?
I think it's very expensive. It's very expensive for a normal Kenyan to actually own a home.
Yeah.
The rates are too high.
Yes.
So I think the government need to do something, but at the same time, even us who are in this business, we need to provide affordable homes for our people. And the land rates they're just ridiculous. Too expensive for the young people and for the middle income earners. So I just feel like all these real estate firms should do something about it and accommodate all of us.
All right.
Because sometimes rents are just a rip-off.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, Peter, of course, there is a statistics that states that only 5% of retirees have a home plan, which is according to the RBA. What does this mean to Kenya and planning along the home ownership ladder?
The biggest problem, Ashley, is because those people may not have known how to own a home in the first place when they were working.
Okay.
If you ask an average Kenyan today, especially these people who are employed in the urban areas, ask them how much is the price of a bag of cement. A lot of them won't know it.
Yes.
But it's only about 580 shillings. These people who spend all their time over the weekends, Friday night, drinking beer, it's only 2 beers to buy a bag of cement. A 3-bedroom house will only need about 150 to 200 bags of cement, and it's done.
And land?
So, no, the issue of the land, you talked about, and Grace also said the government should do something. You also talked about the government having, we're now talking about the 4 pillars. The government is pursuing housing as one of the core goals.
Yes.
But how can it be achieved by the government? In my opinion, we have the Youth Fund. We have the Women Fund. We have many other funds. In my opinion, if the government can put together a fund that enables the average Kenyan to borrow for a plot, borrow to buy a plot, and manage it properly, I believe every Kenyan who is working should work towards owning a plot in the first 5 years of their employment, so that the retirement you're talking about, most of these people actually retire without having known how do you buy a plot.
Okay.
Where do you start? So it's a combination of ignorance. It's also a combination of a lack of someone to hold their hands and guide them. And that's why I think step number 1 should be everyone who is employed, look for a plot, If the government wants to really come in, then the government can set up, whether it's a plot fund or anything
Yes.
to help people, 600, 700,000 shillings, they get a plot.
All right.
And then you can build a house.
All right, Grace, of course, you look fairly young. I believe that you are a youth, and you've gone through the journey of entrepreneurship, starting Kodi Kodi, and I believe you're also building one of your houses. For the youths out there watching us, and of course, they're wondering, how can you get to that point? What would you tell them?
I'll be very honest. It started from a very personal level, where it's just last year I found myself in a position where I was not able to afford my rent because my business had gone down, what I was doing before this. And it just hit me that it's actually how many other Kenyans out there, young Kenyans out there are going through the same thing. So I sat down and I thought about that one thing that I can do to enable the young people and also to enable the middle income earners. And that's how Kodi Kodi started. Kodi Kodi basically means rent. So what I try to do is to allow people to, the same amount you pay for your rent, you pay it into owning up a property. So for the young people out there, just when you go out, let me just talk to the young people. When you go out there and you spend so much money, as Peter said, having fun, think about your future. Because what you can afford today may not be affordable in the future. So if you think about it now, you will secure your future and you'll definitely have a house.
All right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we go wrong, because most of the young people, the priorities are misplaced. You would think about getting a car instead of investing in land or, other things that can appreciate over the years. But then let's not forget there's the issue of land cartels, and it's everywhere. Corruption is everywhere in our country. How exactly do we deal with this?
Well, let me say this, Ashley.
Yes.
First of all, in my opinion, I've been in this business for so long, over 15 years. People shouldn't fear buying land because of land cartels. Land has been given a very bad name. But to be honest, if you look at many other industries, like motor vehicle industry, a lot of Kenyans have lost money while trying to buy a car. That shouldn't stop you from buying a car. What you need to do is arm yourself with facts. If you want to buy land, the first thing you should do is know you need to conduct a search in the registry. You need to work with a lawyer. You need to work with a reputable firm. But let me go back a little bit to the issue of young people spending a lot of money or employed people not building their houses, and then later, of course, as you said, they retire and they're homeless. And they go and live with their relatives. The thing is this, right now, if you're working around, let me say Kilimani in Nairobi, if you're working around Kilimani, you may want to live in Kileleshwa, Kilimani, Lavington, Jamhuri. That's okay, it's understandable because it's near where you work. But don't forget, at 45, 50, you will not be working there. You will not be living there because it will become maybe too noisy. You'll be in an apartment where your neighbors are too young, too noisy, coming home at 3 a.m., their cars being raved, and you can't sleep. You will move out because of your age. Your children will be in their 20s. So that point is when you will think, I should be living in Kitengela, Ruiru, Ngong. Why don't you buy the plot when you're in your 20s or 30s, and then build it slowly so that when you're in 45, 50 years, you move from that apartment when you stop working to your house.
All right. All right, Grace, of course you talked about the 600,000, which is still shocking in my head. And I think I would be interested in owning such a house. For those people who are curious out there, how exactly is the house looking like?
So at Mitini Gardens, the one we have in Nanyuki, we're doing, it's a gated community, by the way, where we have subdivided our plots into 50 by 100. And we want to do holiday homes in cottages, rather. And we are looking at a house worth 600,000, between 600,000 to 2.5 million. So it's up to you as a client. You fit into where you can, you choose a house and build according to your budget, like what you'd like to have. So it's a nice house, actually. It's a simple two-bedroom house, sorry, and with a kitchenette, a lounge. It's a comfortable home for five people. And again, for Mitini Gardens, you're not only looking at people living there. When you cannot live there for now, when you're in Nairobi, or rather other areas working, you can actually hire it out to the tourists, because where we are based at, we have the Olpajeta Conservancies, we have the Mount Kenya, we have Aberdares, we're surrounded by tourist attraction sceneries. So when you're not there, when you're not going for a getaway, or when you don't want to live there, you can actually earn money from it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Peter, I'll let you have the last word. What kind of advice can you give our viewers right now if they were watching?
What I will tell the viewers, particularly young Kenyans, if you're 40 and below and you're watching this, what I would say to you is let us stop these stories we keep hearing that so-and-so had a really nice job, he was driving a nice car, and now he's sick, he's broken his hip, he's got a terminal disease,
yes.
Now he's living at his sister's house in some place. Let's stop this, what I would call nonsense. Plan yourself, come to Peter's Plots, come to us, we will advise you. I'll help you get a plot, I'll help you build a house with 3 million shillings. 3 million shillings spread in 15 years, you can build a house.
You're saying 3 million as
Yes.
if it's just, you know,
Yes.
little money, but it's not.
But actually, look at this. Look at some of these people. Somebody who was driving a car of 2 million or 1.5 million, somebody who was employed for 20 years, surely you must have gone through almost 15 million shillings, if you look at it, or 10 million shillings. Come to me, I'll get you a plot of 1.5 million shillings.
Yes.
Quite close to Nairobi, if you still want to be near Nairobi after 45 years. I'll then get you a 3-bedroom house of 1.8 million shillings. And you'll lead a comfortable life. Let us stop these stories we keep reading in the media, that so-and-so had a really good job, but now he's broken his leg, he's got cancer, he's got diabetes, he's living in his grandmother's house. Let us stop those stories. Come to me and I'll help you.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter Gitau, who is the Managing Director of Peter's Plots, and of course, Grace Wanjiru, who is the CEO of Kodi Kodi. Thank you very much for making time to join us here on Business Today. I hope we all will be able to afford low-cost housing in the near future, not only us, but also our young youths as they grow up. Thank you very much. All right.